we're live. Hello. How are you? I'm here with Gil Ramos. He is in sunny Florida, where it's probably a lot warmer than it is here.
Good chance.
Yeah. I'll have to come visit you and get out of this cold 2 feet of snow. I am here with Gil. He is a superstar with EXP. He's growing a great organization that I admire, and so I just wanted to. I've got a couple of questions here that I wanted to ask you, because I don't know you personally, really. So I would love to know a little bit about your journey into real estate.
Sure. I'm 49 years old. I've got 6 kids, 2 sets of twins, so it's not all my fault. My wife
Wow.
has incredible ovaries, so
Yeah, I
um,
guess so.
I got into real estate begrudgingly. I actually didn't like real estate in the beginning, but I'd say mid 2000s I started to kind of like started attracting my attention after I worked for multiple Fortune 500 companies and had made them a lot of money. I decided maybe I
Of
should
course.
do some wealth for me. Went through a couple of different channels. Found my home kind of like after going through a couple of different brokerages. Found my home in Exit Realty, and they they were kind of like a mid-level brokerage in our state. We had about like 100 some odd brokerages that were exit model, and found myself an opportunity to kind of advance into a team leader. And then it was an opportunity to become a broker owner, and it kind of fell in my hands. To be very frank with you, I actually would say I wasn't out there looking to be a franchisee or something like that, but we were the top team in the office, and it was like the opportunity to buy the brokerage was there, and I was like, you know what, let me do it, and uh, was big in the recruiting in that model too. In fact, that one year in 2012, I was the #1 recruiting agent for the entire Exit Corporation. Got to
Wow.
go, and their headquarters are in Canada as well.
Mississauga.
So,
Yep.
yeah, I wasn't going to try to say that name, Mississauga, but yeah, so off the stage, the whole 9 yards. And as broker owner, we were the top brokerage in the state of Florida, 5 years in a row, top listings, top sales,
Wow.
single office year after year. And we grew up to about 100 people. And, we had an incredible culture. And, right when our franchise was about to end, somewhere right around there, I started being introduced to EXP. And wife took a look at it, and I took a look at it, and we're like, holy mackerel. We totally rejected it like at least 6 times. So shout out to
Wow.
the 6 people who didn't do a good job of telling
Right?
us.
See, I was the opposite. I was that person that I watched Brent speak and I was like, okay, wait a minute. I need to watch that again. I missed something. That sounds
Yeah.
way too good to be true.
Right.
Yeah. And then I made a decision. I had within 24 hours, I had license plates ordered and like everything. I was ready to go. I was like, okay, if this is an actual thing that's real, I'm friggin' going for it.
It's funny you mentioned that because my wife, I actually went to my wife. I was like, hey, if this is even half real, like we got to make a move on this. This is
Yeah.
and I'm usually the person who's like, it can't be too good to be true, too good to be
Yeah.
true, and I just would push off. And it took us about, I don't know, probably 6 months of like looking and digging and digging and digging, and then we're finally like, okay, we're making this move.
Wow, 6 months. That's a long time. I told at the time my fiance, and I said, look, I was introduced to this model. Kind of sounds too good to be true. He's a very C personality where he crosses the T's and dots the I's, and he does the research, and I'm just like, if it sounds good, like where do I sign, kind of thing. And so I said to him, like, will you look at this video for me, because for some reason I feel like I'm missing something, and I've watched it twice now. And he's like, you know what, Michelle, you're doing so well. You've been the top agent for the last, I don't know how many years with Exit. And why would you do this to yourself? Like, why would you do this to your career? And I'm like, I think change is okay though. Like, I don't think that people are going to not want to work with me because I'm, with a different brokerage. I'm still the same person. And so he saw it as, you're going to change brokerages, people aren't going to want to work with you. And I kind of was more optimistic and thought, well, I think they will still want to work with me. And so I really had to fight tooth and nail to get him to like sit down and watch the video. And he watched it, and then he was like, wow, okay, I get what you're saying now. Okay, whatever you want to do, you can do. So that's kind of how it started for me.
Yeah, and I will say, like, I think I learned a lot from that environment, and the power of having residual income. I think that was something that kind of opened my eyes, because we were we're both in a model where we could produce business, right? But we
Hmm.
also had that added benefit in our toolbox of being able to attract agents through the brokerage, and really start building a business within a business. I'm very thankful for that time that I had with them, because they opened my eyes to that whole thing. And heck, I was there for like 9 years total, I think, total.
Wow.
And,
Yeah.
and so I really kind of did a lot of growing in that model.
Yeah, same with me. I mean, I was there for 6.5 years. I didn't really understand a whole lot about the passive income thing. I had a couple agents here and there that came and went. But essentially, I mean, passive income in this day and age is a wonderful thing. And so when I looked into EXP and I thought, wow, there's like Exit has one level of compensation, which is phenomenal. But then you look at EXP and its 7-level compensation plan, and I'm like, 1 level or 7 levels? That's a lot. That's a lot of levels.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
I had to look at it.
yeah, it was a pretty phenomenal experience. Now, what was your biggest draw to the company? Did you?
Well, I will tell you, like, everybody gets enamored by the whole rev share and the stock and stuff like that. But as a broker owner, and I kind of real, and I've said this before, I felt like if you're a really good broker owner, you have to think to yourself, man, I want to give my agents the best possible tools, the best resources, the best websites. And to be very frank with you, as a broker owner, you do have limited resources, man. You just can't give them everything, because it's still a business. There's profitability in there, but in your heart, you're like, well, I want to make sure I give them a world-class experience. So, I had to look at it and say, well, where could I find that, right? So,
Yeah.
in looking at that, I found, I was like, well, there's, healthcare here. There's, more leads available for the agents, and the culture was very different. I felt like the culture talked more about like being an entrepreneur, right? And
Yeah.
and there was all this conversations like, hey, it's great you're doing all these transactions, but let's talk about building wealth. What sort of financial strategies that you and your family can do to? And then they said this one word, and I was like, say it again. They're like, well, what's your plan for retirement? And that was probably the first time a agent or a broker had talked to me about retirement. I had never even thought of this realtor retirement party, and I've been on a quest right now. It's like, hey, do you know any other agents that have had a realtor retirement party? And I've never met one. And the reality is that most brokerage models weren't built for agents to retire; they were built for brokers to retire. And
Yeah.
that's part of the business. No different than I would say, any big corporation, right? It's mostly for the owner of that corporation, for them to win, and it also offers an opportunity for the people working for that company to have that opportunity. But it was really kind of shaved to the top, and I found in this model it gave equal opportunity,
Yeah.
agent or broker associate, to have that same kind of tools and resources to have growth, and win at a level I had never seen before.
Yeah. What I liked about it was, I mean, I always dreamed of owning my own brokerage. I owe so much to my past broker, who she blew me away with, what she was capable of doing. And, I always wanted to own my own brokerage. I thought it was like the prestige sort of like, and I love the
Yeah.
mentorship and I love the teaching and I love exactly kind of like what you were saying is you want the best for everybody. And I wanted to, develop agents that were just phenomenal, amazing agents. And I felt like the only way I could do that is if I owned my own brokerage, because then people would have a different perspective on
Right.
where I was level wise on, how educated and smart and whatever that I was.
Yeah,
So,
and I
um,
feel like that the industry taught us to do that. Like, I felt like after a few years now being with EXP, I realized that the industry has created this model in most agents' heads. It's like, oh, you're an agent, and then one day you're a team leader, or maybe you'll be a broker, and that's like the epitome of your real estate career, which isn't true, right? The reality
right.
is that a broker, to many degrees, is a legal aspect of the business, right? So it's and they never tell you, oh, Gil, hey, when you have 100 agents, guess what? You're going to spend a month doing 1099s, and you're going to have payroll processing, and now you've got liability insurance, and you got E&O insurance, and it just
Yeah.
is this feeling of that some kind of significance to being a broker owner that it's really not what you really sign up for, what you're looking for. At least I can speak for myself, is
Right.
that I was looking to create a culture of winning. I was
Yep.
looking to create a culture where there was unlimited prosperity for every agent that came on board, and I couldn't find that as traditional brokerage, and I didn't think that I really could recreate that in independent brokerage, and I've never seen it ever done besides what I've seen here at EXP.
Right, right. And a thing too with being a broker owner, I imagine, because obviously I have no experience, but financial commitments and the time and energy commitments that you are responsible for. I would imagine that with EXP and the support that we have, it really takes a load off of being able to really focus maybe on an individual level with your agents and being able to really customize help for them instead of being able to just do things in a group setting and that kind of thing. I mean, I'm sure you still do group setting stuff, but I think it probably frees up a lot more of your time, and I mean that financial commitment you can utilize somewhere else, right?
Sure. Yeah. Now that I don't have to do those 1099s, I can spend more time, coaching and training and developing talent, helping people, have a clear path for, building wealth, financial retirement. Like those are the things that really kind of jazz me. I mean, and as well as the most important thing is improving the consumer experience, right? Now that we've got
Yep.
better tools, better resources, better branding, better collaboration. And you got to think about that for a second. With all of these brokerage models that are brokerage models, we're an agent-centric model versus a broker-centric model. It's like, the focus of that is for the brokerage, right?
Yep.
When you have an agent model, right, it allows us to kind of free ourselves from that mentality. It's like we must be kind of like this is our colors, conditions, and this is how we do things, stuff like that. And we really can kind of collaborate with other agents, throughout the world now, and really find
Yeah.
out, hey, what are the best practices that are really helping, the consumer find the best property for the best price, for the best protection. What's the best way to showcase a listing, and really kind of dive deep with partners throughout the world and say, hey, listen, what's working there over in, I don't know, Chicago versus, the Dominican Republic to, the United Kingdom to,
Yeah.
Japan or any of the other countries. It's like, hey, what's working? What are the challenges, stuff like that, and go fireside chats and really get deep on, improving and improving, improving. And I think for the first time in the world, we're seeing agents, collaborate at a level that we've never seen before. I've never been in all the
Yeah.
years I've been in the real estate.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
We would have never done this, even in our own franchise, right?
I know. I wouldn't
So
have even really known you. So it's
like,
pretty
and now I'm
nuts.
like, okay, let's play the book. I mean, what do you want to learn about? Like,
Yeah.
let's stop holding back, which is hurting the consumer, right? Like, let's
Yeah.
really let each other know. Hey, you want my Dropbox? You want to know what my tool? You want to see what my listing presentation is? It's
Yeah.
like,
Right.
guess what? Here it is.
Yeah, yeah, and it's all about sharing and the family aspect. And I know where we came from was a very claim to be agent centric and family oriented, but this is just a completely different realm. Like we are just in a different place than I am, anyways, from what I was used to. So the agents, I hate saying agents, realtors. So the realtors that were in your brokerage previously, did they transition with you?
Yeah,
Most of
yeah,
them?
yeah. I would say I think we lost 3 or 4 agents out of the 100.
Wow.
And to be very frank with you, many of those agents transitioned before I did. They were interested. They were already talking about EXP, and why shouldn't they? The reality is that they had an opportunity to look at a model where they could be seen as a pillar, and they were able to kind of build their own brand, and they were able to have more flexibility and tools and have ownership in the company. I mean, why wouldn't they really? So when the conversation finally got to me, it's like, oh, Gil, we're already doing this. We're way
Yeah.
past you. So, and that's how it happened. Actually, some of the agents kind of transitioned before me. So, but yeah,
Right.
I think one was one of the things that I see. I hear two things, right? So the biggest regret every EXP agent has is that they didn't join sooner, right?
Yep. I have
Uh,
that one.
I think you could go to like 100 successful EXP agents and ask them that same question, and 100 successful EXP agents would say the same thing. And then
Yep.
for those people who, once they get introduced to it the right way, right? So I always say it's like, have you heard about EXP from the eyes of a successful EXP agent? Because I mean, if you go to a Chevy dealership asking for them, hey, can you give me some good advice about Fords? Probably going to be a little slanted, right? So,
Yeah.
or if they had a bad experience, maybe they didn't put the best effort in there. Maybe they had a little slanted experience too, right? So, hearing from a person who's like winning at EXP, I think really can make the difference to give you the insight. Because what happens when you do that, it's less about the company, right? So, I mean, just before here, I was talking to an agent, and I was like, "Well, tell me about your business. Let me see
Right.
how." I literally had an agent I just sat with just before this call, and I was like, "Well, what's going on in your business? What's stopping you from growing?" And listen, this guy hasn't joined EXP, right? And I was like, "Well, after hearing customers, I was like, well, have you told them about this? So why don't you do me a favor? Why don't you just do your customer a favor? Call them right now, tell them about this particular property, and see if they take a look at it this afternoon." While he
Yep.
sat in front of me, he made a $1.2 million showing appointment. And I also gave him another opportunity, another property. I was like, who else do you have in the database that you haven't really? So we made two other appointments, 3 total appointments, or at least got those going, but one for sure. And like just trying to move the needle. And I would have
Yep.
never done that unless I had a abundance mindset. If I truly wanted to help agents, no matter what brokerage they're in, grow. And
Right.
why shouldn't I? I mean, it's embarrassing to think that for the last 100 years we've had this this mentality. Oh, you're with this color, or you're with this maybe your colors of the brokerage were this color, or you're with
Yep.
this ABC company, and because of that we can't communicate, we can't share, we can't collaborate, we can't mastermind unless you have the exact like
Yeah. No.
that's not good. That has
No.
to end. So I'm excited that EXP's opened my mind to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. So, with looking at your community that you're growing and developing, what do you see contributing the most to your, the agents within your organization, their success? So a little bit about, what is contributing. Is it the coaching and training that, EXP provides or you provide, or what is it that you feel is the highest contributor right now to the success of your team?
Well, Tony Robbins talks about this all the time. Energy creates energy. So when
Mm-hmm.
and there's a reason why if you look around the country, that the top agents on almost every state are or either the number one or the number two agent in the state, or the number one or number two team in the state is with EXP. Certainly in this state, right? So what I would say is that leaders create leaders, right? So
Yep.
that's you've got leaders finding other people who want to be leaders, who can say, okay, now that we've broken down these walls, let me help you duplicate what I've done into your business. And guess what? We all share in this company stock. Let's help each other grow that. Because when that
Yep.
person who's in South Africa does a deal and they take care of that customer, and they do a world-class experience for the customer, guess what? We all win from that, right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that has been something, and in our culture, we went from that initial 100 agents, now 3 years later 1,900 agents.
Wow.
And we weren't recruiters. We weren't heavy out there recruiting. We were just out there doing the things that we're doing now. Let me tell you, there's nothing sexier than doing more business, right? So as we improve
Yeah.
the consumer experience, guess what? More consumers want to use us. And as more consumers want to use us, we're doing double, triple the business we did last year.
Yep.
My personal team did a little over $100 million last year.
Wow.
And that's a result of a massive collaboration. My team collaborates with Veronica Figueroa's team, which collaborates with Carlos and German's team, which collaborates with 5 other
Right.
teams that are here local with us, that are partners with us, right? So like, oh man, you're using BombBomb? That's a really cool tool. Let me see how that works. Oh man, this is how I do it. What
Right.
CRM do you use? Why do you use that CRM? I was thinking about that CRM. Hey, by the way, how do you handle your follow-up process for when you do these events? And you're like, oh man, it's just
It's amazing.
I'm overwhelmed with the
Yeah.
amount of collaboration, and it's just, it would never have happened if there wasn't a model that was like EXP. I just from my personal experience, from all the brokerage I've ever worked from my personal experience, from what I've seen, I just feel like it's and certainly I speak for myself. I feel feel like it's just a better model.
Yep, I agree. It's a everyone wins kind of model, right? Whereas other models, are more centric on the broker and the brand winning rather than the agent themselves, which I think is what makes us totally different than the rest.
Well said.
I guess we'll wrap up here in a few minutes because you've got to go, which I want to respect your time. So if you could go back in time and tell your amateur self some advice as a real estate professional, what would it be?
Listen, I would tell you right now, if you're a newer agent, you got to put people in a position to make a decision. They're coming to you because they can't decide many times. They're coming to you because there's a lot of information that has to be, filtered through. Your job is to help someone make a decision. And the only way you can do it if you're helping with a buyer is put them in a position to make a decision, show them a house, right? So if you put them in a house, they can make a decision. But a lot of times, as an agent, certainly as an agent as I was, and by the way, I was not a great agent starting off. I was a very average agent. I've been telling a story when I first started calling leads. I once I hung up on myself. I called the person up and I was like, oh, blah blah blah, and I hung up on myself. I was so I would say you got to practice more, right? You got to treat this like you're an athlete. Take care of your body, take care of your mind, make more calls, give yourself more opportunities, make some more appointments, right? And be relentless about being in front of somebody every single day so they can make a decision.
Yeah, I agree. And what do you, just an aside, because we have a couple minutes, what does your calendar look like? Do you time block? Do you this might be a little bit longer of an answer, so you can make it short and sweet.
No, I actually, I do have some strong feelings about the whole time blocking and things of that nature. I'm not the best at it, to be honest with you. I just try to get a couple of good things done every single day that move the needle, right? So, my day doesn't start at 4:00 in the morning. I value my time with my family. I have times that are non-negotiable when I won't do a call and stuff like that. Most of my team knows that between 5 and 7, don't even bother calling me. I don't take calls between that time period. And usually after 5, you're probably not going to reach me anyway. So, and I do block out a lot of time for my family. I believe in having love vacations, right? So my wife and I take time away from the kids, and we plan that on the calendar. My kids have vacations. And we probably take around 8, 9 vacations, here and there stuff. They don't always have to be a week at Maldives or something like that to be a vacation, right? It might be just a sneak away. Let's go camping or glamping is what we do actually.
Nice.
Well,
if you ever come to Ontario, I have the perfect location for you. So hit me up when you guys are coming to Ontario.
That's exciting.
Golden Lake. We have this is my husband and I's little special spot, and I was like, I would love to bring the kids here. He's like, this is our spot. This is not our kids' spot.
I absolutely believe that. I think that there's we spend we live for our kids. We make sure that they have whatever they need, but what we need is just time to have for ourselves where we can just kind of just be silly and just have fun and
let loose and not be in the hectic family chaos.
So here's my time blocking. I have a few things on my week that I do every single week that I believe in my heart actually matter a lot, right? So those are my communications to my team, communications with my partners, and I have those, and they're on my calendar every single week, week in, week out. And then what I add on there is opportunities to be face to face with people. I mean, that's super, super important to me. It's can I meet with somebody and move them forward just a little bit closer to making a decision, and whether that's a client, a buyer or seller, or another agent who's looking to make a good decision for their family.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I appreciate your time so much. I will have to come visit you in Florida where it's nice and warm because it's not here.
Well, it's not the most beautiful day today, but typically, we're going to be in our 70s around this time of year, which I can't even imagine you guys are in. Probably
it was minus 30 last week. No big deal.
Yeah. I would
just make sure you come to Golden Lake in the summertime.
Minus
it might
30.
shock you.
Like 30 is like a natural disaster here in Orlando, Florida. That's
Sure.
shut everything down. We're not going to
Yeah.
work. It's worse than
Yeah.
COVID.
Isolation.
We would shut
Nobody
everything down.
leave.
Nobody would. It would be worse than coronavirus here in Orlando. We just randomly became minus 30. Like we wouldn't even we would act like fools. It would be terrible.
You
Like
wouldn't have the normal clothes to even put on.
I wouldn't even like. I don't even listen. I live in New York City, and maybe -3 is probably the coldest I think I've ever experienced. But -30 is brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. Just make sure you go to Golden Lake in the summer. That's all.
Okay. Okay. Well,
All
I
right,
appreciate
Gil.
spending time with you.
Awesome.
Glad to see you're doing well. And
Yeah.
anytime you need me, I'll be happy to jump on.
Cool. Thanks, Gil. Have a good
Take care.
day.
Bye bye.
Bye.